a lot of y'all probably have never heard me rant about this before. I'm known for my mad ravings and trying to predict the future. And to be fair, I'm pretty good at it. But hear me out, chat. Hear me out. Here's what I predict. All right, you ready? You got your pens? You ready to take some notes? Here's what the Loremaster of Sotek predicts. Oh yeah, you're right, chat. You're right. Hold on. We have a procedure for these kinds of things. There we go. Now I can do it. All right. Alric Ranulfson would actually, yeah, I would actually like Alric Ranulfson as well. Like a very, very traditional dwarf king. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking either Joseph Bugman or we'll just say Alric Ranulfson to just move along, who will be leading a DLC that features the following new units, and it's going to be like the Outcast DLC, and it's going to come with which Bugman would actually be perfect for, but it would come with the Demon Slayer Lord, so the generic Demon Slayer Lord. Oh, really right now at this exact moment? They sense me putting the hat on, man. They're trying to silence me. Don't you see, chat? They're trying to stop me from spreading the truth. They're scared. There are two DLCs. The first one is the Outcast DLC, featuring Joseph Bugman, or we'll say either Joseph Bugman, Cazador Dragonslayer, or Alric Ranulfson as the Legendary Lord. Then it comes with the Demon Slayer Generic Lord, and the Demon Slayer Generic Lord is going to be a super badass anti-large ass kicker who's unbreakable, very few defenses, but has like lots of magical damage and like maybe some cool abilities. Then the generic hero is going to be the Dragon Slayer hero, and actually maybe the Demon Slayer would not be anti-large. He would just have really fat stats, and then the Dragon Slayer would be the big anti-large hero. Anyway, but we're gonna get the Dragon Slayer generic hero, and then the units that come with this DLC, check it out, are the Runic Guardians. So Runic Guardians will be a monstrous infantry type unit. So think like a block of ogre-sized troops or a block of troll-sized troops or Kroxigors, and they're going to be a slow-moving monstrous infantry unit with extremely high armor and physical resistance and magic resistance, who are all about just being big tanks that just block like motherfuckers you've never seen before in your life. They are the blocking kings, okay? And then the next unit we get is the Shard Dragon, and the Shard Dragons are giant subterranean monstrous lizards. So they crawl on the ground, they don't fly, and they're covered in these really sharp black spikes, and they have venomous claws, and they breathe this nasty breath that causes a lot of leadership damage. And they're these big scary dragon monsters that have the rampage debuff because they're only controlled by runic collars that Runemasters invented a really long time ago. Then the third unit that would come with this is the last new Slayer unit, which is the Doom Seekers. And the Doom Seekers are Inquisitor Thomas, you can't stop me.
You can't stop me.
The Doom Seekers are a unit from the Storm of Chaos, where the Doom Seekers are they're a unit of slayers who, instead of trying to die against like a super powerful single opponent like a monster or a champion, their goal is to die against endless hordes. So they've kitted themselves out for endless hordes. So they carry these long chains that have axes on the end of them, and they whirl axes around themselves to cut through swaths of enemies. So they would have a lot of anti-infantry and would focus very heavily on slaughtering hordes of units, unlike regular slayers who specifically counter like large targets or heavily armored single entities. So that's the first DLC, okay? Then there's the second DLC, which is like the New Age DLC. Instead of being about the old and forgotten things, it's about the new and exciting things as the dwarfs try and head into a new golden age. This DLC is led by Grim Burlickson. And Grim Burlickson is a Master Engineer Legendary Lord who's got his Grudge-Raker super rifle. You know, he's like really, really good in combat. He has a buff for his Cog Axe that allows him to heavily nerf enemies that their melee attack and melee defense, probably mostly melee, or actually probably melee attack and weapon strength as they're fighting him in close combat. Coming with Grim Burlickson would be a new generic lord, which would be the Engineer Guildmaster. And the Engineer Guildmaster would be a shooting lord who's also either has a long-range rifle or a short-range like burst shotgun, or maybe you could kit him out to do one or the other. And he focuses on buffing the shit out of your ranged units. He can give you more ammo. He improves your shooting capabilities by making you more accurate, shoot faster, and have higher missile strength. And he also has an ability to set traps. And his trap ability is it's a fairly like medium to short range ability, but if he uses it on an enemy, it locks them in place so that the dwarves can just obliterate them with shooting. And he comes with the ability to ride gyrocopters or gyro bombers, piloting them himself. And this mount upgrade also applies to the hero engineer, the master engineer. So they get gyrocopter and gyro bomber mounts. The new hero that would come with him would be the Rune Priestess of Valea. So the Rune Priestess of Valea would be a very buff-centric character who has a rune staff, and she uses a different type of runic magic, where runesmiths and rune lords rely on like Anvil of Dooms and runes where they carve runes in and awaken the magic by hitting with a hammer. A rune staff channels magic that's already contained within the staff and unleashes it in a burst of energy before slowly recharging over time. And she focuses on using the powers of Valea, which means she features very heavily as an anti-wizard character, and she also has support abilities like a heal. So she has a healing ability that she's able to use on dwarf units. And she also provides some buffs to nearby dwarfs, and she can fuck with enemy wizards by slowing down, say, maybe their power recharge rate. So she can slow down their power recharge rate by targeting enemy wizards, making them have slower access to their winds of magic. Alongside those new characters comes more new units. The first is the Goblin Hewer, and the Goblin Hewer is a war machine that's basically if you took a treadmill and just had it throw an absolute fuck ton of axes. So it's a mass fire axe throwing machine that was invented by Malachi Mackison, and what it does is that it has very, very high armor piercing, like really terrifying damage, but it's extremely short range. One of the shortest range war machines in the entire army. Like we're talking like probably shorter range than the flame cannon. But if you get it in range of a unit, it has anti-infantry, severe armor piercing, and just obliterates everything in front of it. And then also coming with the Goblin Hewer would be the Thunder Barge. And the Thunder Barge is of course it's basically a monstrous flying unit, but it focuses on using engineering and very, very heavy firepower. So it has like multiple organ guns on both sides, so it can just blast at enemies flying underneath it. It has a bomb drop ability that drops these really powerful, devastating bombs it can use multiple times per fight. It flies decently quick, and maybe it also has like thunderers on board who can shoot at enemy flyers and also shoot at nearby units as well. And I would also say it should have it should basically have a sort of like a mine ability where they throw out these bombs into the air that hurt enemy flyers to really make it able to deal with them. And then the final two units that would come as part of that DLC, like a Skyjunk, way more firepower, like less rockets, more like focus pop on like single entities and stuff. And then the last two things I would bring in this DLC would be two units that are slightly more minor, and basically it would be an alternate Thunderer unit and an alternate Miner unit. The alternate Miner unit would be miners with steam drills. So the steam drills are these two-handed steam-powered drills that the dwarves use in melee, and they're very, very similar to a warp grinder. So very, very high armor piercing. There's a very small amount of them in a unit. They have abilities to like drill against the ground. They have the wall destroying ability, so they can drill through walls and knock them down. But unlike the Skaven version, they have the Vanguard and Stalk ability that represents them tunneling up beneath the ground. Maybe that could be locked behind the tech tree if it's too OP for like a multiplayer scenario. But they have the ability to kind of like lead out your dwarfs in a more dangerous Vanguard situation. This tinfoil hat is surprisingly warm, or making me sweat. And then the last unit would be Grudgeraker Infantry. So basically a slightly tweaked version of Grim Berlikson's own gun that he is like started to pass around in Zuffbar, the schematics, and they could function as shotgun infantry. So like Iron Hail Gunners, or the Zombie Pirate Gunnery mob with Blunderbuss, or that way the dwarves have an armor-piercing short-range shot that's good at hitting a lot of people at once instead of only having long-range options. Those are your 2 DLCs. You're fucking welcome. Hat off.